We're up. Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome to the April 2nd, 2024 City of Glens Falls Planning Board. We do not have the unapproved minutes from the March meeting at the current time, so we will hold off on our review of those. Move right into our agenda items. The first item on our agenda this afternoon is Architectural Review 24-0003, pursuant to the City of Glens Falls Zoning Code, Chapter LI Light Industrial Districts 220-20-D. Eric Unkoff, owner of tax map numbers 303.17-13-8, commonly known as 18 to 26 Kern Lane, is seeking architectural review and approval for additions and the construction of the following: a 4-foot wide door at the window opening on the northeast corner, using refurbished original door and adding an overhang and shed roof style similar to the building roof to the existing building. Replacing rear double doors with a 4-foot wide original door with glass exit door. Addition of a hexagonal steel structure on concrete footings to support a new waterproof sailcloth, and addition of 8 additional parking spaces to convert the existing alley into one-way from east to west. Mr. Unkoff.
Well, that summed it up. I don't know.
Tell us anything else that you'd like to add to your application.
I guess I'll answer questions and if people have any.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this application before we go too far? I see none. Peter, do we have anyone online? There's nobody online. I will start with our architectural consultant.
Yeah, I think that what you're proposing is going to be an improvement to that end of the building over there. I know it's going to serve the tenants that you have inside, you know, in those spaces there, and support the functions that are in there. You know, the materials are in keeping with the rest of the building, so I think that would be great. It would be nice cleaning it up over there. I think that the idea of making that driveway one way, and then you can spot those 45-degree parking spaces in, will actually probably make it a little safer.
Yeah, because the building is actually kind of a obstruction. If you're trying to come out the other way, you've got no real good line of sight to the right.
Yeah, we'll
So,
have to see. And I think, I assume that the octagonal structure is going to be for seating during events over there?
Right, so the idea here is that we put up those tents every week for the markets.
Right.
So I'm trying to come up with a lower labor solution where we can just kind of leave it up for the season and then take it down at the end of the season.
Take the canvas down.
Take the canvas down, yeah, because the canvas is rated for, like, depending on which manufacturer, 90 to 120 mile-an-hour winds, so can pretty much just leave it up there the entire season.
Right, and
then take it down for the
destroy
snow.
During the winter.
Yeah, take it down for the snow.
Yeah. I mean, I think that will also add to the events that are there.
Mm-hmm.
My only comment was, and I don't think this is necessary, but, you know, you've got the industrial stuff on the other side. I think it's 188 Maple, because, you know, right up against that parking lot, you may want to consider some privacy fencing just to kind of define that space. I don't know if that's necessary.
No, so, we, in a prior meeting last year, we're kind of going to be locating, we were approved for 3 20-foot containers that are going to become mural canvases.
Yeah.
So that's actually going to define that, it's actually going to define that space.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
No, I think it's a nice idea.
That covers your stuff? Yes? Okay. I will start with Mr. Landry and see what questions you have for our applicant.
Just to try to add on to what Nina mentioned, I think it's going to be a great improvement down there. I think it's going to be kind of a continuation of some of the improvements you're doing down there too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I say, it's definitely an improvement to the area. It does seem to address the parking issues down there. I think it's great they're using that existing materials down there to kind of keep with the theme.
Yeah.
I can't, you know, I have no problems or questions that I can think of.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Miller?
Again, just to go along with the same, keep upgrading property in the neighborhood. I don't have any issues with it, makes it more functional.
Ms. Andrews?
I don't have any problem with it. I just wondered how you turn an alley into a one-way street.
Well, I guess technically it's not a street, but I'm gonna put some signage up on the corner of the building to just denote one way, and then at the other end of it, either on the pavement or on the side of the building, we'll just,
So that alley
make-
isn't a street.
The alley's not a street, but people use it
Yeah.
like a street. So, because it connects into the parking lot to the road. So, we'll just designate it so that people understand that, because like I said, what I don't want to have happen is the one building is like right on the sidewalk, tight to the sidewalk. So if you're coming out the opposite direction that I'm proposing, you have no line of sight to the right-hand side till you actually like kind of pull out, so.
Coming up Curran Street, if you were going.
If you were headed to the east on that alleyway, we're calling it, out that way, when you get to the end, you have no line of sight to the south. Until you hopefully don't run over a pedestrian or something, whereas if you come in from the other way, you've got, full line of sight.
That should fix that.
What's that?
I've walked that, so that should fix that.
Yeah, just before there's a problem there, we don't want to have,
Good. Thank you.
I'm just curious, with the standalone octagonal structure, should that be permitted separately?
It'll have to be a separate building permit.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it's gonna have a architect design,
Okay.
the structure, so it's not gonna be just something I whip together here,
I
it's,
understand. Just wanted to bring that topic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
it looks great otherwise.
Yeah, there'll have to be, the alteration to the building would be one building permit, and then the standalone structure would be a separate building
Okay.
permit. We're just redoing them both as part of the architectural review for the overall project.
Good.
And the application says that, engineering
Yes.
drawings to be submitted with permit application.
Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, that was the question that I had was with the alleyway. Again, it's private property, it's not a public right of way, so how you
Right.
signage it is really up to you.
Okay.
I do agree, having gone out that direction.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
good thing that Current Lane is not a very heavily traveled road.
Right.
But I think that bringing people in from the east and allowing them to park there, I think that's going to do a whole lot of good. I do like the doors, as I discussed with you before. I like the reuse of those big, heavy. It goes with the structural theme, I guess, of the building. So I like that. You had talked about you're just going to case that opening because the opening, I guess, is wider than.
Yeah, so we're
than
gonna
the
just
door.
use, the opening where the double doors is already cased with like 12 by 12.
12 by 12.
It's actually a few beams there, but it looks like a 12 by 12, so we're just gonna do the same in that window, and then hang the door off the 12 by 12.
And then you're going to leave some transom above the top.
Yeah, there's gonna be a transom, yeah, I think I sketched it out.
Yeah. Yep, no, I think that's going to look nice.
Yeah.
Yep. I like that. Again, I don't have any problem. I like to see the fact that you're continuing to clean the buildings up and, get them filled up.
Yeah.
So that's good. Do we have any seeker to make?
No.
Who was asked that first this time?
Architectural review, it's type 2, no further action is required.
Okay. Anybody have any additional comments? Let's move forward. Okay. Then I would make motion that the Glens Falls Planning Board, acting as the Board of Architectural Review, hereby grants architectural approval for the project identified as Eric Unkoff, owner of tax map number 303.17-13-8, commonly known as 18 to 26 Curran Lane, as presented at the meeting of 2 April 2024, with no amendments.
Building permit.
Subject only to building permits, yes. Can I get a second? Second? All right. All in favor? Any opposed?
Eric, you're all set.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before I move forward with our next application, I would just like to note that we have not received any updated information for the Hoffman project from the applicant. So if anybody's here this evening for the Hoffman project, that's going to wind up being a special meeting, which will be on the 16th of April. So if you don't want to hang around for that, and if you want to stay here, you're more than welcome to. But otherwise, that is going to wind up being a special meeting on the 16th of April. I'll move on to our next item, which is an encroachment permit pursuant to City of Glens Falls Code, Chapter 189-2. Subsection 3, Dorothy McCullough, owner of tax map number 309-11-9, commonly known as 39 Murray Street. Zoning is residential 1B, single-family moderate density residential district, seeking a curb cut to extend the driveway access at this location. Is there anyone here representing this application? You? Are you here representing this application?
If I
Okay.
may I approach?
Yes, please. Come on up and tell us your name for the application.
Michael J. Spina.
Yes.
I own New York Cement Company in the city and Stone Castle Builder.
Okay.
I have 39 Murray under contract.
Okay.
And I'm applying for the encroachment permit. The owner never did it, and for me to close on the property, I would have to have the encroachment. So I have a complete outline of where it would be,
Yep.
and if that's appropriate, so be it.
Okay.
I just didn't feel that crossing that crosswalk coming off of Mohican,
Yes.
hanging that left and then right into it,
Mhm.
because it's right next to the city lot. Is that helps?
Right.
Yeah.
For the parking area,
That's
for
correct.
the overflow parking.
Yep.
From
Yep.
Mohegan Street. Okay. And this would be directly across from the end of Mohegan Street, is that
Absolutely.
correct?
Yeah. It's 15 feet from the actual crosswalk,
Yep,
and then 5 feet from the property
from the
line.
property line on the
Which
west.
is also next to that is it's a right of way or an easement. I'm not sure yet.
Okay. Back down, headed back into like the Water Street property.
Absolutely.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this application? Seeing none, Peter, do we have anyone online? No. I do have something that came from the city engineering staff. And I'll read these to you, and if you'd like, I can give you a copy of them. What is the applicant's proposed use for the property? At one point, the city was contacted about purchasing this property to potentially expand and improve the parking area to serve Murray Street. Is this still being considered? That was a question to both Pat and Jeff Flagg here at the city, and I don't believe we got an answer to that. If the lot ends up being purchased by the applicant, plans to develop the lot, including the curb cut, would be reviewed during the building and code permitting process, which is in fact the case. In my opinion, it would be premature for the planning board to take action on the proposed application prior to gathering more information. We're just doing an encroachment advisory opinion, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. So this would actually be taken up by the actual common council. We give our opinion to the common council as to whether or not we think it's something they should approve or something they should disapprove. So we'll go ahead and discuss this evening, and we'll make our recommendation to the common council. They will act on it at the next common council meeting. It's something that, obviously, once it's approved by the common council, then there would have to be a building permit through the Department of Public Works and the Building and Codes Department. So
Yeah.
that's just that portion of it.
So the curb cut, they're granite curbs, they're not concrete down there.
Correct.
45-degree cut, the removal of the apron, the
Yep.
concrete sidewalk,
Yeah.
and the placement of 8 inches of concrete.
Right. And we typically request that the apron between the street and the sidewalk also be cast concrete. They just hold up better.
Say that.
Between the street and the sidewalk
Yep.
itself, we like that to be poured concrete.
Well, that would be 8 inches.
Yep,
I don't pour 4 or 6 inches.
right, yeah. I see what you're saying, you're gonna make it thicker.
Yeah.
So that it holds up better.
Full rebar grid and all that in there.
Good.
So now there's the question of entering the property.
Mhm.
I don't have a proposal yet. I just signed the contract. I don't have a proposal yet for the driveway.
Okay,
I just wrote 40 feet in.
yep,
That would allow construction vehicles, my vehicles in there.
yeah, based on your sketching.
Yeah,
Yep,
exactly.
okay.
And-
So the lot is 90 feet wide, do you know how deep it is?
That's-
Do you know how deep the lot is?
It's 80,
80 feet deep?
yeah.
Okay. All right,
So, yeah, so what I'm preparing, proposing to build in there would be a single family.
single family residence?
Yeah, it's not a wood, structure, it would be solid concrete.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
good. I will ask our board if we have any questions. I'll start with Mr. Lanford.
Really, I understand, well, getting to the first topic of the, in the email was, the purpose for this project. Is it just for access, or is there structure?
Yep, it would be on 80 by 90, I would build a 30 by 30 two-story.
Oh, I see.
So what would happen is there would be, 60-inch frost walls in the ground, and they would be capped with 8 inches of solid concrete. That would be the first floor.
Okay.
And then there would be you're probably familiar with,
So it's gonna be a structure?
yeah,
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah.
Did you say a
Single
single
family.
family residence?
I'm sorry?
You're gonna build a single family residence on the lot?
Yeah,
Which is allowed in that zone.
yeah.
All set?
That's okay, thank you.
Ms. Andrews, anything from you?
No questions, thank you.
I neglected our architectural consultant. Did you have any comments on this application as well?
No, that's okay. I was just following up on questions from the city engineer, but it sounds like you're in contract for this? For this
Yeah.
property, so that sort of makes the question move about whether or not the city was gonna buy it, and I was
Yeah.
wondering what you were gonna put there, so.
Yep, single family. I've
Single
already
family.
paid for the property and I'm
Yep.
just waiting for, if I can't get access in there, I can't go in from the city parking lot. The easement does not belong to that property and that 3-point-something acres up in the back, it would be called landlocked
Yeah.
if there was no
Understood.
encroachment. And, oh, by the way, I can move that encroachment if the city engineer didn't find it appropriate to be next to that. Because there is ample room going down, so I have to have the property resurveyed. Because when they went in, and it was surveyed a couple of years ago, when they went in and extended the city parking lot, well, that material they brought in there,
Yeah.
100, 150 ton, extends like 30 feet up into this lot. It actually benefited the lot, to tell you the truth, because it raised it up, because back there is all marsh, lowlands, and there's an issue. Because Hans has got 3 properties down the way,
Yeah.
and everything sheds that way toward the Hudson River.
So if we, if we approve this, as he's drawn it here, and then he develops his design and wants to move that driveway bit, does he have to come back, or is it?
Well, the encroachment permit that he's seeking is for this layout. And I would think that if the encroachment wound up being something different, and again, in looking at this and in looking at the information that's been provided, I tend to agree that putting it where he's proposing it
Makes
is
sense.
likely the best location
Yeah.
for it, because it doesn't interfere with the comings and goings of
The crosswalk.
the city
Yeah.
property or the crosswalk.
Absolutely.
So I mean, I
It's a
think
good
it's
spot.
the logical location.
But if you did change it in future, you
Yes.
have to have a
Yep.
different encroachment.
Correct.
Yeah, because I do have intentions on bringing grade. It's 26 inches higher from the right side of that easement down to city where they leveled it off. 26 inches higher. So I would only have a slanted grade when I brought in probably 100 to 150 ton of material
Okay.
to level it out. Yeah. And everything would be pitched to drain toward the back of the property.
Right.
Because that wood something road up top,
Yes,
whatever it is, all sheds down that way.
right.
I've done all the engineering.
Okay.
Yep.
Good, thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Belden, anything from you?
Looks like a nice drawing, and like you said, a logical place to put it. I don't have any issues.
Mr. Lehman?
No questions.
Nothing from you?
Looks good.
Any seeker in this, and it's just an advisory
It's an
opinion?
advisory.
Yeah, I think that all of the questions that I had have been answered. Again, I think that the location that you've chosen for it is probably the correct location. Once you get the survey, obviously, that would be where you would want to show the final.
Yeah.
So that when you go for your building permit, you can show where the actual curb cut
Yep.
is going to be, and have your surveyor show where your proposed access is going to be.
Again, I already did all the minutes and all the calculations. 'Cause-
Right.
But I have to have it legally done again by Van Dusen and see.
Okay.
So that's fine.
Perfect. Okay, great. Then I would make a motion that the Glens Falls Planning Board hereby submits the following advisory opinion to the Common Council. That the council should look with favor on the application of Dorothy McCullough, owner of tax map number 309-11-9, commonly known as 39 Murray Street, for a curb cut at the location as presented at the meeting of 2 April 2024. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So you're all set. You're off to the Common Council. That's your next spot, and they will make the final determination.
They'll notify me by
April 9th will be that meeting? Okay.
April 9th, I come back here.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much.
That's 6:30 now.
7:30.
7:30.
Yeah, 7:30. 7:30. Yep, 7:30 here, 7 p.m., 7:30 here.
The next item on our agenda is rehearing on 207 Maple Street for approved site plan. Pursuant to the City of Glens Falls Code, Chapter 220-27-13D, the Glens Falls Planning Board is seeking a rehearing of the approval for the site plan for tax map number 303.17-22-2, commonly known as 207 Maple Street. Is there anyone here representing the application? Mr. Leo? Do we want to have Philip discuss this before or after?
Bill, do you want to say why you brought it back, or?
It doesn't matter now.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you? Good. For the record, you can just state your names.
I'm Frank Leo, owner of the property.
Yep.
Scott McDonald, North Country Snow and Ice Management.
Okay. Thank you. I would ask Mr. Cancelleri to just kind of state for the record what's going on and what the issues are that we're running up against. It's got you back here in front of us. If we could have
I don't
Philip come up.
understand it either.
What's that?
I said, I don't understand it either.
Okay. I'll have Philip state his portion of it, and then I'll have you guys.
Philip Cancelleri, Code Enforcement Officer for the City of Glens Falls. We have received numerous complaints about the property from some of the neighbors. Upon doing an investigation and even speaking with the applicants, there seems to be there is change going on at the property. Currently, as to the best of our records, the property was to be exclusively used for North Country Snow and Ice. It appears that there's an auto body shop there, and it seems that the two businesses coexisting are pushing North Country Snow and Ice into the residential property next door, causing complaints and issues that myself and the City Police Department have been receiving complaints about.
Good. Thank you. So, where do we stand?
Well, I talked to the building inspector, Mr. Vandersea,
Okay.
and he told me if it's okay to have 2 occupants in that building. Okay.
Can you speak right into the microphone, Frank?
It was okay to have two, occupants, in that building.
Okay.
One is North Country, and one is the auto repair shop, not a body shop.
Okay,
Okay, and now you tell me that I can't do that.
okay. Was that ever brought to this board as an application?
I don't believe so,
Okay,
but they gave me a building permit to redo the canopy. They gave me a building permit to put a sign up on the building.
okay,
So everything was moving along, and all of a sudden,
okay. There were a couple of conditions that were put on the project when it was originally done for North Country Snow and Ice. And where does that stand? I mean, are you still utilizing the property? Because at least from my recollections or my viewing of the property, it seems like when you first started over there, like all of your trucks were on the lot. And now it's like, I don't see your trucks there that much anymore. So it's just.
So to give you an idea, about 2018, we moved our operations up to Big Boom Road,
Yep.
or Big Bay Road, pardon me. And so most of the equipment, trucks, and staff went to there. So we function operationally out of 415 Big Bay.
Okay.
Our offices are still located at 207 Maple Street.
Okay.
We utilize the salt bin, which is the agreement we had back in 2009, I believe, when we came before and presented. And to my best recollection, we're working within the parameters that we were approved for.
Okay. But you're not storing the vehicles on the site any longer?
No,
Okay.
no. The only thing I do have is, there's a salt bin, which has been the object of contention. I have a skid steer there that we load with because we run our salt out of there. And I have a couple smaller pieces of equipment that work sidewalks downtown. But other than that, there's really no storage. Now the office staff does park there. I've got 5 in the office, to 7 depending on the day.
All right. So I think a couple of the things, and we'll open up to the public here in a few minutes. A couple of the things that were in the original approval, and this was back from 2014 when it was.
July 1st, 2014.
Right. A couple of the things that were in there that were talked about was the sidewalk in that area and the apron in that area were questioned as to whether or not they would hold up to the constant back and forth of these trucks and stuff. And it was stated in there that if they didn't hold up, that they would be replaced. So after driving down through there and looking at it, I can see that the apron has deteriorated fairly significantly. So I think that's one of the sidewalk and the apron really need to be addressed. That's one of the items that I think we need to look at. The other thing that was discussed at that meeting was the fact that all of the parking was meant to be on the site, not on the street, because that was one of the contentions that the people that were in the neighborhood had. And I realize we're a light industrial neighborhood, but it's also got apartments and things like that in that area. And it's and that part of Maple Street's a fairly heavily traveled east and west corridor through there. So the more vehicles that wind up being parked in the street, that becomes, next, especially in the wintertime. You know how tight it gets down there.
Yeah, I mean, during the wintertime, operationally, we have an office staff of 3 that are actually currently parked on the property. They don't park in the street.
Okay.
And I do park on the street in front as I come and go quite a bit throughout the day. And my other business partners are in and out throughout the day. But, we used to park on Lawrence. No, not Lawrence. Leonard. We used to park on Leonard. But after we moved the operations to Big Bay, most of that's gone.
Okay. All right.
So.
And I think the other thing that's kind of exacerbating this, Frank, is the fact that it looks like a lot of the vehicles for the repair shop, and again, it does not appear from our records that anything ever came here for the repair shop, so I can't speak to that. But it appears as though the repair shop, some of those cars have been there for a significant amount of time, and they seem to be taking
All
up.
those cars that are there,
Mhm.
believe it or not, have plates on them. Because they belong to.
No, I
No,
completely
They belong
understand.
to Enterprise.
Okay,
Rent a car.
all right,
So the car comes in, it has damage on it.
right,
Okay, we have to assess the damage
Yep.
and send it back to Enterprise.
adjusted.
So sometimes that does take 4, 5, 6 weeks sometimes
Mhm.
before we get a yay or an A.
Right,
If it's an A, they come down, they pick the car back up with that. But, but that could be another week or two.
okay, all right,
That's why sometimes it looks like there's a lot of cars there,
sure.
but they're just in transit.
Right, right. So, I mean, I think that's part of the perception is that, there's a lot of them that are sitting there for extended periods of time, and it appears as though
Well, it's not really.
taking up most of the lot.
There's a dump truck and a couple of company, owned vehicles that stay here all the time.
Right,
Not all the time,
but
for the most time.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. I would ask if there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this application. I see there's a couple of people here, so I'm going to ask the public to come up and speak. You guys can either stay up or you can have a seat, however you prefer to do
I
it.
do have a quick comment I want to add.
Yep.
If you look, this is the site plan application from 2014.
Mhm.
And if you look on, I don't know what page this is, but the described purpose use, the first sentence is the property is used exclusively by North Country Snow and Ice. So I just want to put that on the record that in the original site plan application that was approved by this board back in 2014, it was exclusively for the use of North Country Snow and Ice.
There was an original application from 2010, and that's what added the salt storage. There was approval for the salt storage, it looks like in 2010.
Mhm.
And then 2014, it came back to expand the business for the seasonal, wood mulch for seasonal use. That's what you came back for
2014.
in 2014. Property is used exclusively by North Country Snow and Ice, removal and property management. Permission has been approved for a salt bin to be constructed on the property. And then during this non-snow season, the property is used for the operation of the landscape and property management aspect of the business. So that was 14. So the first was your approval, there was a salt bin added, and then 2014 was the adding of the mulch or landscape maintenance. That was the resolution, was to expand their business to include landscape maintenance with 2 conditions. The debris pile shall be removed more frequently and the sidewalks associated apron will be repaired in accordance with the code requirements. So that's what our city records show.
Okay. Mr. Mayor.
Good evening. I just wanted to clarify some things. So, one in your application that you have there, in the minutes of the last meeting, I didn't know it was 2014, but whenever it was, you had given unlimited, you don't have any limitations on the hours, but stated in the minutes that, that occasionally this business would stay open into the evening. And it said only under cases, again, from the minutes, though it's not in your determination, but it stated that occasionally this business would stay open past business hours. I think it says the evening, and that only around the case of severe weather, because that was the nature of the business. It appears that their business has grown considerably. I know that they've searched for other locations for their business. I don't have any disagreement that it's clear that currently their business is using the sand storage unit for what it says, but they're operating. I had the Glens Falls Police last winter, because I was getting so many complaints from residents that they're operating all night with videos. So I went myself because I was a new mayor and hadn't reached my capacity. So I spent a few evenings when I left my office at 10 p.m. I sat outside for an hour. It clearly is the business that they're using it for, so that's great. They're not using this lot or this portion of the lot for anything else. But they were, the 2 nights that I stopped by, they were operating. It was 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. Then I continued to get complaints about multiple things, noise late at night. Again, not around, the complaints were saying there's no projected snow anywhere in the forecast. So I asked the police to go stop by at the beginning of their 11 o'clock shift, spend 15 minutes there and record whether they saw business. For over a 30-night period, over 20 nights, they were operating past 11 p.m. So that is different from what was explained. It's clear that their business has grown. Separately, our officers have had to go and ticket employees of this business because it's clear that they cannot use the facility that and again, if you look at your application, it's saying that this lot is to be used exclusively for this, but the drivers that are loading and unloading the sand all hours of the night have access to that building because the neighbor has been able to record 3 different times them urinating in the parking lot. So to the point where I had to send officers over and ticket people for public urination. As a result, the business did take and brought a porta-john, but again, it doesn't answer the question that you don't have the facilities. I don't know if your board would have approved an application that would have them operating without the use of public, or not public, but private restrooms. And then we had many more complaints because the porta-john was placed literally, their property abuts to an apartment building. You could probably 10, 20 feet so the portion that they're using is the farthest portion closest to this residential property, and they placed the porta-john underneath the bedroom of the neighbor who had complained. So we asked them, they did move it, we appreciate that. So
it has been moved now?
It has been moved to another side of that same parking lot, but if you look at any of the photos, it's clear that not only that there's a Jersey barrier. It doesn't matter how long those cars there. You were making the statement that these cars have been here, and he said, no, they're all licensed cars. And that's fine, but there's a Jersey barrier stopping this snow and ice, the only applicant for this lot to use that lot. It's a small track. You pull in your car, you can load, you can unload. There are cars parked in the streets all the time. It doesn't look like that many of the cars, I don't know, but there's clearly they're parking in the middle of the street during the day and night. Maybe not permanently, maybe not all the time. Maybe it's just to stop in and check in on the business. They're not using the lot for what it said, and there's a Jersey barrier stopping them from using the lot. So I wanted you to know that. There are no less than 75 complaints about this operation at night, the frequency of it. It's certainly grown way more than ever that your original application is. I just wanted you to know that. It's probably the property that I've gotten the most calls about in the 2 years of my serving. And so that's why they're back in front of you, and I want to be a Glens Falls friendly business. I want us to grow more businesses in this light industrial and in other areas. It just appears that the presence of another business is prohibiting that lot to be used well, pushes the use of the lot closer to to the apartment building next to it, and then the frequency of it at night. I mean, if you or I did buy that lot tomorrow and then come back in front of this board to operate a sand and salt business 24/7, most of the nights late at night, I would think you'd reconsider the approval of that. Maybe not, but that's up to you.
On July 1st, 2014, Commissioner Hall asked about the changeover of trucks and employee vehicles. Mr. Leo stated most of his employees park on Leonard Street in the back of Sully's. We have 40-plus employees. They are usually gone by 7 p.m. The only time anyone is there 24/7 is if there is a good snowstorm.
Yeah, so I just wanted you to know, and thank you. Thank you for the work you're doing serving this board. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to speak?
I'm Ken Pagels, I own 203 Maple Street right next door.
What's the last name again?
Pagels,
Pagels.
sorry, P-A-G-E-L-S, yeah. I've owned the property next door since the mid-'80s, and I recognize that it is light industrial zone. What I didn't expect was for a company to be able to come in and work overnight with loud equipment. Mayor Collins said 75 complaints, but I've had tenants nonstop complaining to me. And that's my big concern, is the overnight work there. I don't know if it was the board's intention to let them work overnight. I don't think there's any other companies that do have equipment in light industrial zone with a night shift. I could be wrong, but it's been a big issue with the overnight.
Okay. That's the major complaint?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hello, my name's Ed Myers. I live at 203 Maple, apartment 2, downstairs in the back. I live there with my wife and my 81-year-old brother. What Mr. Pagel said is absolutely what's going on. 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, my bedroom window is lit up by lights, scraping on the ground, payloader, not always a payloader. Sometimes they use the Bobcat, but there has been payloads, which is a heavy equipment operation at times. This has got to stop. I've lived there 4 years. My dog gets upset when they do it. They make all this noise. It's no way to live. 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I want to go to bed at night. I got to work in the morning like you do. Everybody does. They have no respect for their neighbors. None. At all. And it's not right. It's got to stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Brenda Tracy, I live at 203 Maple Street, apartment 3. I am a nurse. I know it's not an excuse or whatever, but I do need sleep at night. They wait till 11:30 at night to clear a sidewalk the other night. I can do that during the day, even though the snow was going on. I called the cops because they were flying through the parking lot. I mean, with the skiff or whatever the heck that thing's called. Flying through the parking lot. And the police told me to call North Country Snow and Ice, so I did. And she talked to me and said within a couple months they're waiting for a certificate of occupancy to move. But this has been going, I've been there for over 22 years. This has been going, it wasn't in the beginning, but it is now. It's constant. I mean, they wait till 10, 11, 12. They were loading a loader one night. You waited till 12:30 at night to do that. Be considerate. We're considerate of you. We don't bother them. We don't talk to them. We don't do nothing. You know, be considerate of us. I work. You know, we all work. You need to sleep at night, and you go fear of God every time there's a snowstorm because you're not going to be up all night long. I can't give proper care to my patients if I'm half asleep because I've been up all night. It's ridiculous. I mean, every time there's a storm, you anticipate it's going to, oh, here we go again. You know, it's be considerate. We don't talk to you. We try to be considerate. they block our driveway, they sit there and they, you know, I saw an emergency vehicle a couple weeks ago or a month ago, and the truck was like right behind the fire truck. You can't be that close. I mean, if an emergency, you want to smack right in the car, you know? It's just inconsiderate, that's all.
Thank you. Anyone else who wishes to speak on this application? Gentlemen. So it appears as though, please come back. It appears as though there's some changes that have taken place, obviously. I mean, you've already stated that you've moved some of your operation out. Is it the intent to continue to use this site? Or I know that I've heard rumblings that you're looking to move that portion of it as well. So I guess I'll ask you point blank.
Yes, it is all moving to Big Bay Road.
Okay.
It is. I mean, we haven't changed our activity since we started on the property back in 2009. We've been running snow and ice for here through the Capital District. There were times back in 11 and 12 when we had 200 employees checking in and out there. I have told my staff to be considerate. We dealt with the public urination, not tolerant to anything like that. My staff has been told to not engage the neighbors because there has been a lot of video being taken and a lot of tension coming from that side. I've told them to keep the noise down, you know, reasonable. We have always operated there that way. We have always, the business of the snow and ice industry takes place in the overnight. Salting of parking lots, taking care of properties, loading. That's why we chose and went to Mr. Leo's property, so that we would have some place where we could function. Why we brought it before the planning board before, to make sure that we were in compliance. This has been going on with the neighbors for years.
Understood.
Whoever is the ward councilman, no one stopped in. Mr. Diamond spoke to us a couple of years ago. We did touch on a few different issues and worked with it. I have not met the new mayor, but it seems that our activity is being drawn into the forefront when it's really been this activity from our inception over there. So I don't know. I know that my plan is to vacate the property. We haven't moved the offices yet. We are planning on moving the offices.
Do you have an idea of time?
We're going to be there probably another few months. I'm working on approvals on certificate of occupancy because we renovated the office space that we're moving into and it's not quite ready.
Okay. And the salt and sand eventually goes with it?
With them.
Yes.
I'm servicing, you know, unlimited, and I do a lot of snow removal also. So I have another salt bin down on Lower Warren Street, you know, that I use now.
Lower Warren. Oh, across from
Saks.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, that I use now. But if North Country is moving out of there, I have a storage bin there. Not to, you know, I don't use it much, you know, as far as their capacity of it, but I still want to be able to use the salt bin. And, which, again, at night is when you go out with salt and sand.
Understood. I mean,
I don't want to say that we're not going to use it.
Correct. I'm going to open this up to my board and get some comments from the board and from our architectural consultant, and we'll see where we go from there.
Mr. Leo, are you not North Country Snow and Ice
No,
Manager?
I am not North Country Snow.
Because when the application was made, it was said that you were the owner.
No.
Frank Leo
I'm the owner
was the
of the
owner and the applicant of North Country Snow and Ice Management.
That was put wrong. I'm the owner of the property.
Okay?
I have,
And you came to
right.
the board,
You know,
right?
I had the,
In 2014, and I think you were on the first application in 2010. Frank Leo, 207 Maple Street. We were on the first site plan review application from 2010. What's that, if I can ask a couple questions, what's that 211 and 213?
That's a building next door. I own that, also.
And what's there? Is
My
that where
office
the
is-
cars are?
No,
No,
the cars are at 207, the cars are in this lot.
The mechanics stays at 211.
Because the letters from the code office, Bill, from July 13th, 2000 and June 20th of 1995 was to do Tom's Auto Repair Shop at 211 and 213.
right.
And then in July 13th of 2000, it was also 211 to 213, Ron's Auto Body Repair.
Right.
So that's where the auto were supposed to be at 211
No.
and 213, not at 207.
They were down 211, 213, and they moved over to 209.
209 doesn't exist anymore.
No, 207.
209,
209
211.
What's the other shop that's there now? We just did a sign for them.
That was the lot, that was.
Yeah, overtime body work, I believe, is the
No.
overtime auto works.
So are the cars that are being serviced by the auto body shop in 211 being stored at 207? Is that how it's
Well,
working?
it's the same person that owns it.
Right, the business is being run out of 211, that's the offices for the car repair. And then those cars that are being repaired are on the 207 lot. Is that right? It's all, because that whole lot is part of 207, right? North Country Snow and then,
Right, and the building next door is all part of that,
but
also.
the big parking lot between the building and the rental
Right.
house, that's all 207, so.
207, right.
So both things are happening there. We've got the salt shed, and then we've also got the cars being stored, and there's a couple of
Right, you got
boats
the cars there, but in the building that North Country is, that I thought I had the approval for, there's an auto shop in there too. You know, it's not up and working right now, but it's all set to go.
So when you guys do your work, you said you've moved over to Big Bay Road.
Yes.
So your employees, your truck drivers, and everybody parks over there, and then how does that work? I'm just
Yeah,
they pick up their trucks there, they come get
Their
the
truck,
salt,
all the
and
trucks come out, leave out of 415 Big Bay in Queensbury.
Right.
I get about 30 trucks that leave from there. They go various places. There's about 3 vehicles that actually work, 3 to 4 that work in the overnight parking lot treatment with salt. Or during storms, I'm in and out of the office and my staff, but operationally, those guys, other than loading salt, don't come to the property.
Okay, so and then you said you're moving your staff over as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty close to that.
So it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, once that happens, the only time you would be there is to pick up salt for snow emergencies, right?
But if you move your
If that's-
operation over there, you're not coming back here to get salt.
Or you're not gonna get
It's
salt,
just
I guess that's what
random.
I'm asking.
Correct. I mean,
That's an open question.
yeah,
So you may come back and pick up salt,
You can't,
you may not.
right.
not if you move out. You can't,
Right, but I
Well,
own
they may
Services
still-
Unlimited, and I have a snow
Right,
removal business
but-
also.
what
So
is your name, I'm sorry?
Scott
I have the,
Scott, who?
McDonald.
I'm sorry.
so if I own the building, I'm gonna sell them salt.
Right. That's what I'm asking, that's what I'm trying to get at, is, you know, once you move all your business over to the new location, are
Yeah.
you still gonna be coming to get salt? And will that be the only function over there at 207, or is it gonna be more than that? You know,
No,
employees parking
if there was anything with Frank as a salt supplier, there wouldn't be anything more than that. Operationally, at this point, the only thing we're really doing there is salt, other than my office staff.
But that's the problem. Because then it's, 11, 12 o'clock at night, and you guys are clearing, and you have to reload.
What's the definition of the noise ordinance in a light industrial zone? That's what becomes the question, because we established ourselves there because of the light industrial zoning and the noise ordinance being lower there. So take, for instance, what's gonna happen if the new apartment building goes over on Warren Street and you got Primes there that runs 24/7. We're in an industrial zoning. I understand people's needs for sleep and privacy, but we've been there for 15 years. The police have been there probably 100 times throughout the years. We've been very cooperative. There's never been an issue with law enforcement, and they've always just acknowledged that without a noise ordinance, we're able to do what we do there. And that's what, and I've told my staff very firmly to not be, act up, not respond, and to keep their voices low, and try to keep the noise to a minimum. On the equipment, we changed the backup alarms to white noise alarms, so they'd be quieter. We did put the porta-john in when we had issues. It wasn't intentionally placed on the line closest to the property, as Mr. Collins said. That's what he was insinuating. That was not the case. As soon as that porta-john showed up last winter, Chris Vanderzee was right back down with a complaint that there was a porta-john there. Everything I've done is try to comply. And we've tried to function there based on the light industrial zoning. And I just don't know where I stand, because I'm trying to do the best job I can and also service my client base. Much of which is within the city of Glens Falls works out of that salt bin. I've got 4 or 5 other salt bins, but the few trucks that work there, there's 40 or 50 properties downtown that we work directly out of that salt bin.
And then who would be the landscape company with the mulch storage?
That was us. We added a landscape division in
So do you own North Country Snow and Ice?
I am one of the owners, yes.
Okay.
So would you be then also storing mulch there in the summertime? Is that no longer?
No, that's
something-
all operationally out of Big Bay Road in Queensbury.
Okay. What I'm trying to figure out is just how much action to expect.
Yeah.
As you're sort of moving out.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're still gonna come back and
In
need
the,
to get yourself.
in the summertime, it's gonna be none. It's only in the wintertime, when it's ice and snow.
Unfortunately, the perception of what we do is that we're just out working needlessly in the overnight. We're out. We put a lot of time and money and effort into making sure that we service our client to the expectation that they have. So, even though the perception is that the snowstorm is over with, it still might take 2 or 3 more nights to get things fully cleaned
Snow
up.
melts, and then.
Refreezes.
I
Yeah.
do snow also, so I
Yep.
understand that. Even though there's nothing in the forecast, there's times you still have to go
Right.
out and do maintenance and
Right.
take care of these
And
problems.
there's times, when you have,
And you're doing large parking lots.
we do everything from,
A fair amount.
yeah. Yeah.
And, the time to remove the snow from large parking lots is when there's nobody in the parking lot.
Yes, it's in the overnight, sir.
And that's, unfortunately, that's the long and the short of that. Okay. Anything else? Steve?
Well, I had some thoughts just from an architectural point of view, only, having to do with fencing and stuff, and I know that there's kind of a falling down fence, and it may actually belong to the residents. I think it would be helpful to have a nice privacy fence that goes all the way to the sidewalk and runs down that line there.
There is a shotgun fence there.
It's kind of like this and that.
It's not the best of shape.
Good fences make good neighbors, that sort of thought. And And quite frankly, it's not a small thing, or it is a small thing to move the porta potty if it turns out that it's under a window.
Why do we need a porta potty when you have a building with bathrooms?
Because at nighttime, the offices are closed and their employees are running the trucks, and you really don't want the employees running through the offices. Right?
Why not, I guess, is my
Well,
question.
then they have to have a set of keys and everything else, you know.
In your office.
Well, because then they'd have full access to the office without being attended as employees.
Truck drivers.
You can't have that kind of free reign.
And because you also have another business in there, right? You have an auto repair business in that same building, is that correct?
Well,
Well, the auto
I would
repair
like to have it
businesses-
all
But that's not supposed to be on 207. There should be no auto repair business on 207.
that's what the question is. I went with Mr. Vanesey, you know, this was supposedly taken care of and okay, that's why I, applied for redoing the canopy and doing the sign, which I got the okay for. Why would I want to do that if I didn't have a business in there?
And the auto body business then involves storing the cars that you get from Enterprise, that fills the lot. That's what we see when we drive by there.
Right.
As far as the sign permit goes, the sign permit was for 211, 213, that was issued either last year or in late 2020.
That was the second one, but there was another one that came in, or another one that Frank DeSan was applied for at a different time. Okay. Anything else?
No, I can't speak to the permit status.
Okay.
Well,
Mr.
I got
Lane?
one more question before we proceed.
Yeah.
I still like to have a zone back at where I could run two businesses out of that building.
Say that again?
I still like to run two businesses out of that building.
Well, it's under a site plan, it would have to be.
Huh?
Right.
And I think that, isn't that why we're here?
Yes.
Because you have site plan review for North Country Snow and Ice. We don't have site plan review for an auto shop.
Right, so.
You had letters that said automotive mechanical repairs only, no repairs done outside of the structure, no automotive parts or junk vehicles will be stored, no vehicles sold, will not be used as a used car lot, no unregistered vehicles, body shop shall comply with DMV. That's from 2000, and that applies only to 211 to 213. So you need a site plan review for the auto shop. That's why we're here. That's why we brought you back. Right, Phil?
Correct. And amongst the complaints of, the scope of the business is increased from what was originally reported.
So then we need an updated site plan application to say exactly what's going on at 207. If the expansion of 211 for the repair shop is taking place is expanded into the parking area for 207.
Well, what I want to do is use half the building for offices, half the building for the automotive for, a repair shop.
And this is one Scott has vacated and
Right.
pulled out. So I
Once
think,
Scott leaves.
Frank, I think that what's gonna have to happen is we're gonna need to have a separate site plan application to come back to us for that, to expand the use of the property from what it was originally when it was just North Country Snow and Ice.
No, back
Expand that.
once upon a time, Ron's Auto Body and North Country were in that building.
Okay.
There was two businesses.
And again, I don't know that was ever done with site plan review. Nothing that we can find in our records says that was.
I went through the building inspectors and, I asked and they said,
Understood,
okay, fine,
that
that's why I did it.
that was our
But
past.
I got the building all set up with, two separate, electrical, entrances, two heating systems and everything else.
Yep, completely understand that. But I don't know that was ever done with the approval of this board. And that's where we're at. I think we have to get that, in order to clean this whole thing up, we've got to get that done. Okay? So I'll leave that where it is. I'll ask Mr. Landry, is there anything that you'd like to add here? I've kind of jumped around the board a little bit, I want to get back to it.
So, North Country ice and snow is gonna completely move out of
Eventually, yeah.
there? Okay, all right, you said within a few months.
5, 6 months.
Okay, all right. So within a short period of time, so you won't have any operations there at all?
Not until I get
Yeah.
all this taken care of.
Yeah, all right. So so your intention is then to establish a new business, expanded business? You mentioned offices, you mentioned auto body and things.
Right. I want to keep it, have to build for, offices and
Yeah,
they have to build for a automobile repair shop.
okay. Okay. No, I'm all set.
Mr. Bill, anything else? I know you've chimed in a couple of times. I
Yeah,
got everything from you.
No, it's a tough situation to deal with, keeping people up, and it's an ongoing thing, but it's light industrial, so that's something we have to do some work on that, find out what these, I'd like to know exactly what the ordinance is, if there's a noise thing. This has been an ongoing issue that I think we need to resolve somehow.
Well, the city just passed a noise ordinance, correct, maybe? Yes. And has it been published yet through New York State?
I have the noise ordinance if the board would like to know what the newly adopted noise ordinance.
Section 45.
Yes,
Is it like a decibel rating?
it is. So, it's 45-8 prohibited noise, section B, between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. Noise should be below 75 decibels as measured from property boundary or public right-of-way, excluding sirens, alarms, and emergency repair work, or other matters related to public safety or events otherwise permitted by the common council. So the updated noise ordinance between 10 a.m. and 7, or 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. needs to be 75 decibels or less.
Does the city have any way of measuring that?
I did refer when we adopted the ordinance, decibel reading equipment to the police chief, and I'm assuming that it got purchased.
And is that for all zones?
It is, like I say, for the entire city, there is no exceptions on zone.
The only exception is for fire sirens.
Yeah, emergency sirens and alarms, you know, a fire alarm goes off at a public building, or if there's an emergency working on National Grid, has to go dig up a gas line, or if the common council signs off on a special thing, whether you barbecue and blues night at Granite Park, it's gonna go midnight.
Is that something you can provide copies?
The new noise ordinance? Yeah, I'll email all board members a copy of that.
Thank you.
So how does that affect commercial snow removal in the future?
What's that?
How does that noise ordinance affect commercial snow removal in the future?
That's what I want to read into.
That's when I saw that law come out, that coming out, there's a lot to define there. Because, as you see, snow removal isn't done with plow trucks anymore. It's mostly heavy equipment. Every contractor's, that's what they're
Well,
using.
most of them downtown, they don't run backhoe alarms.
Yeah,
I live right here and I don't hear them.
I run the scratch alarms, like the white noise, to keep it down.
It's
So-
unbelievable the difference.
Yeah, it does help. But that's the question looking forward, is how, if you're not a city vehicle, you're not, and you're more than 75 decibels, and I would have to say a plow drop scraping a parking lot on a plow
Wonder if
truck
it's not- Yeah, that's the one thing to find out.
is going to be an issue. And, as defined by New York State, snow is emergency service. So now does even commercial and the private sector fall under the emergency service clause within this noise
I think
ordinance?
some of the complaints the city got, and correct me if I'm wrong, or here to speak, is that there was no snow emergency and you were operating vehicles all
Well,
hours
and
of the night.
that's why I tried to define what's the snow and ice industry to. If you wake up, your contractor comes, your husband goes out and clears the driveway. Well, what's not assumed? I think that one of the stretches that the mayor referred to was in January. It was about a 3-week stretch where what to the average person wouldn't be a concern, to those that take on the full liability in the commercial world, it is a concern. So define what emergency service is and define what service is and isn't necessary. Now, there are nights where we go out and we're supposed to get a snow squall that, according to an inch, it never happens. Those nights, yes, they weren't warranted, but it costs money to send crews out every night, night after night. We're not doing that just to spend money. We're doing that to protect ourselves in the litigious society that we live in.
Understood. Anything else? Ms. Andrews?
Just
Yes,
as-
go ahead. That's all right.
We'll turn this way now.
One of the things is just that I live over in that end of town, and the trucks have gotten bigger. So just as the business, you know, the
Yeah.
trucks are bigger, and they used to be Services Unlimited, and now they're North Country, and they're big.
Mhm.
They take up a bigger space, and I think that's just unfortunately the way of, like you said, it's the way of business now. And we have a lot of trucks that run over that side.
Yeah.
You know, there's the recycling over there, and then there's the other stuff. And, you know, I complained at one point, he said, if you can hear it at the street, it's loud enough, but it doesn't count for industrial noises because that's safety.
Mhm.
So that was, so I'm not sure that the auto body thing just doesn't seem to ever have gotten the paperwork to all the right places. So that's sort of a separate issue. And the nighttime, if you guys are moving it, you're gonna come back for salt, I guess that's all we can do.
Yeah, and again, like I said, we're making the move to vacate the property. It's been a plan it's a 5-year plan. Started back in 2018, even probably 2018, 2019. It's just taking some time, but we're close to moving. Like Frank said, it's probably going to be 4, 5, 6 months before the offices are totally moved out of the building.
But you'll still be coming back to the salt though, so we'll still be.
Probably tomorrow night, the next few nights.
Right.
But after that point, you know, obviously anything would cease for summer operation.
Good luck.
Thank you.
So that being said, after, let's say, the balance of this season that we're still into, and you take care there with the big boom road, are you not going to use any more of this facility here for winter conditions? Or is that still going to be a hub for a different location, you know, for access, I guess, different access?
I guess it potentially would.
No, you know, like I said, you know, I own property and I own services, and we do snow plowing too. You know, we do plaza and stuff like that. So I'm gonna use the salt bin, and if they need salt, I'll sell them salt.
Regardless of whatever business moves towards the Queensbury area, you're still going to be utilizing this area for winter conditions, for small salt application.
It's more like, it's probably not gonna be as intense as North Country is, you know, because they're coming out of there, you know, all the time. They're only gonna be coming out of there some of the time.
Right, but for winter conditions, you're still going to use that facility. Okay.
Right.
That's why I built it.
Ethan and I were just chatting about that. When North Country Snow and Ice moves out, and Mr. Leo moves his building, or his business Services Unlimited in, and then he starts selling salt to third parties.
Correct.
Now he's got a retail business, that is a change in use, and that needs to come here.
Correct.
So I think we need a brand new site plan review application for the auto body shop and Services Unlimited, regardless of when North Country Snow and Ice moves out. I think. That's my opinion. And then the board can put some limitations on things, such as you can sell salt until a certain time of day, and that's it. And then Services Unlimited can use their own salt bin for their own use.
Because it sounds like they're going to have an auxiliary location anyway in Queensbury.
You're gonna be now in the retail business of selling salt, that's what you just said to the board.
Yeah,
Right. So we could limit that.
right, but it's kind of hard to limit when it's freezing rain and icing over and I need salt.
Well, we can't, because they can go other places and get that. We don't need that salt there. He has a business that's operating there. I don't want every guy that has a salt truck.
Now, every guy that has a salt is not going to be there. It's going to be limited. If I run out of salt in one yard, I have to have salt there. You know, it's not going to be, like I said, intense as Dodge Country is. But it's going to be used, and I really don't want to be, you know, I can't use it after, 11 o'clock at night.
Anything else?
I just wanted to add one little thing too, because normally with your decibel readings, sustainability or sustained long-term sound, that should be part of, or maybe is already the new state guidelines. So I just wanted to see, because that is a big factor with snowbound. Because if it's a short-term noise consideration as opposed to sustained, there's a lot of different things that go along with that.
To answer your point, it's the 8-weighted sound scale that is defined by the city code for measurement of sound. So it's the sound that's most receptible to human, and it is time average as well.
Yes, okay, thank you.
And I'll provide copies of that noise ordinance to the board first thing tomorrow morning, so you can review the entire ordinance.
I guess it's all I can do.
So where does that leave us?
It requires Mr. Leo to submit a new site plan review application, and we should give a deadline. Right?
Yeah.
So I think what we're looking for, Frank, is we're looking for a new application stating what the uses are going to be from the expansion of the shop, the repair shop,
Yeah.
into the parking for 207, and the fact that Scott's business is winding down on this lot,
So
and how you intend to use it.
I intend to use it. I have nobody yet to go there, so if I just put office space,
Right, but as far as that portion of it goes, we want to know what the intent would be to continue the use of the salt storage facility and how you see that being used moving forward. Okay? And I think that can all come down in a new application to us for that property. Because I think the crux of the problem that we have with it is that it got expanded into that, and I understand that you thought you had gone through the correct channels, and however it happened previously, it didn't get here. So there was a disconnect somewhere between 230 Dix Avenue and 42 Ridge Street. Okay, so I just think that this will clear that up and will allow us to review it, do the proper due diligence that we need to do so that it goes through the proper channels. Do you follow?
Was that one application or two then?
I think it can be one
It can be one
application.
application.
We just need to know all the
identifying the
uses that are going to be taking place in there. Okay?
So when can you have that to us?
So just as an aside, the deadline for the May meeting is in less than 2 weeks.
Okay,
So
so
my suggestion would
we
be,
would hope that we could have something back before the board by the June
yes.
planning board meeting.
I could probably do it for the meeting in May if you want to do that.
If you think you can get it, because what we'd like to have is a complete application. And now that Rich Roman is planning and zoning coordinator for the city now, and I would think that you'd want to make sure that you get your application to him so he can review it to make sure it's complete. So if it happens before the 15th, this would be then considered new business, correct?
Yes.
So it wouldn't really be considered old business, so I can't really push the deadline.
Yeah,
So if I would say get together with Rich and make sure that what you're submitting is going to be considered complete by him, so that we can get a complete application in front of us, so that we can ask those questions.
The other option is if you can't get everything in, you could do a partial, we could do what's called sketch plan
Sketch plan.
review, so that you can get input from the board as to what we expect to see in the final site plan.
You have, all the applications?
Yes, they're online and we have them in the office, and Richard will be in the office tomorrow, Friday, those are his normal days, Wednesdays and Fridays.
I'll be tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming tonight. We have one more item that is not on our agenda, and I'm going to ask Matt and Larry to come up. There is a subdivision that was submitted to the town, or to the city, and apparently it did not get in time to make our application deadline. I've spoken with Matt about it, and what I'd like to do is treat this as a sketch plan review, so that we can at least look at the project, give the applicant some feedback as to what we see, or any of the questions that we might have, so that when we get here for the May meeting, and it's been properly noticed, that's the biggest issue for us, is that it has not been properly noticed. That we can't act on it this evening. So, that being said,
hi, my name is Matt Webster with Van Dusen and Steve's Land Surveyors. Here on behalf of our client, Clute Enterprises. This is Larry Clute representing Clute Enterprises. What we're proposing here is a subdivision of an existing approximately 18,000 square foot parcel, which is vacant, with a boundary line adjustment into what would be designated as road bounds for Overlook Drive, which has not been dedicated yet, so it is still owned by Clute Enterprises. And that lot line adjustment would add about 5,200 square feet to the area that we're looking to subdivide here to create 3 single-family lots. Each of these lots would be compliant with current city zoning. And as you can see, the layout for the driveways, the houses, everything is on the plan already.
Help me out, where's Overlook?
This is actually part of the Haviland Park subdivision, which runs along the feeder canal. So Overlook would be phase 3, if you will. And this is the Paper Street end of Arlington that was never built by the city because there's a stream that runs right through it. Yes, that's further up Arlington. Yep.
Who owns Arlington Street? It says is that a paper street?
Yes.
it was never turned over to anybody.
Correct.
It was never, I know,
On the other end of that, there was an application that came in,
that was all the way up coming off of South Street.
yeah, on the other end of that, because it was like a street that was
But I
there.
don't think that was Arlington, I think that was
South.
one of the next streets up.
Well, kind of the same thing, well, I remember when I went look at it, it was like a hill, like one right
Yeah.
up from this, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Is there, does
I think
it
that's
look like?
Water Street that you're describing, yeah.
So if you extend Arlington, it would be Water Street, then Arlington, and then Franklin, as you
Correct,
move down.
yes.
And actually, the parcel that you're thinking of might be
The
Franklin.
common council dissolved a portion of the paper street, which I think was Franklin.
Yes,
Correct.
that was the Bramer project, I believe it was.
Yes, Bramer.
Yeah, it's still not.
And half went to one owner and half went to the other.
That's
Not
the only
quite that.
thing I see here as a problem,
Mhm.
is that you're looking to do a driveway on paper street.
Correct. It was my understanding that the city would be granting easements for driveways across the paper street.
Both Tom Gerard and Jeremy, that was their suggestion.
Okay.
My suggestion was to put a road in.
Yeah.
And they would prefer not to have the road. They suggested half of the 50-foot right-of-way to be 2 driveways, which is what you're seeing. And then if Newell's decided to do the same thing on the opposite side of the street, they would have the other 25 feet to do 2 driveways, exactly as you see laid out. If that makes any kind of sense. But I went to talk to Tom Gerard and to Jeremy both, and they prefer not to see the road. That was our suggest. That's what they suggested to us.
So we drew up this plan in such a way that it would not inhibit any of the other vacant parcels in the area that could be developed from being developed in the future.
What would they have to use in order to get, well, the Newell and Mulder property has access to Overlook.
Yes,
Is that correct?
yes.
And that
Which the
property-
paper street does.
Oh, that's the paper street? This is paper street?
Yeah, Arlington, it's Arlington Street, it's just not developed. So the 50-foot right-of-way is there, it's just not paved.
Right.
So,
So that's what we're using, half of it, based on the recommendation of Jerry and Tom, or Jeremy and Tom. And then the other half, if indeed gets developed by the Newells, they would have the other portion of the 50-foot right-of-way.
and
So
direct
that'll be on
access.
Arlington Street.
Sorry?
In this plan, they'll never be in Arlington Street. because
Unless
it'll
the
be
city
private.
decides
They're asking me not to, so yes, it would just be a driveway. Yeah, so the city wouldn't be responsible for those driveways, that's the whole intent. They'd rather not put the city snowplow on there, they don't want to maintain that. That's what they're asking of me.
So the way this is drawn, this line would be actually over here, because it's a 50-foot right of way.
Correct.
And you guys are only using 25.
Correct.
So if these guys wanted to do something.
So they can come
They could
in
come
off
in.
of Overlook.
I guess that's
Do the same.
That's why it's confusing to me, because it
Because
looks
there's a line
like
there,
this
makes
is.
it look like-
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and so that parcel actually does still have direct access to Overlook Drive.
Yeah, this
Right.
Yep. And
comes straight.
at the same time, with this being,
Lot 1 has access to Overlook.
And
yep,
Newell's.
and on the south there, the Newell
Oh, they
piece.
still have a right of way because
What
it's
is
a
this
deep
here?
lot, I'm saying.
This piece here.
What is this?
This house.
Correct.
Yes, correct. That Newell piece has
That's the
direct
Newell
road
piece.
frontage on
Yes.
Overlook Drive.
It's private, right.
This is their frontage. So Overlook Drive is not in the center of the right of way.
Correct.
That is,
It's
yes, sir.
shaded towards
Okay.
one side rather than.
Tom Jarrett moved it over, allowing for further drainage,
Got it.
better drainage.
So the Newell properties would be skinny if they put another.
And is the Arlington Street that's indicated on your map, what is that width from the property line down to the Newell's property? Is that 25 feet or is that 50 feet?
I believe that's a 49.5 foot right of way.
That's 49 and a half.
Yeah,
So,
3 rod.
right, so,
Here's 49.5.
yes.
Yeah,
So for them to come in off of Arlington, they wouldn't be able to get, that becomes a private driveway.
correct. Yeah,
So we got two private driveways on a 49 and a half foot drive width.
correct.
That's only serving these two new lots.
Correct.
It wouldn't be serving the property of Newell and. But does that leave this one lot back beyond you? Does that leave that as a landlocked lot if that happens?
The one to the west,
Yes.
the Newell lot? Theoretically, yes. But you can also see where the stream runs through there.
Mhm.
So development may be limited, to say the least.
That's why the permanent Arlington Street was avoided, was essentially that stream.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Rather
right
than
out.
trying to cut off that stream or determine a course of action for it, just leave it, leave the stream alone.
Mhm.
And right after that is where it goes vertical. So,
Right.
Yes, sir.
Are you taking the whole paper street for two
As-
separate driveways?
as it's shown, yes, we
Okay.
could consolidate the plan if that was a concern.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm wondering.
I don't think we can give you both, an easement for both.
We would consolidate.
And then what about the maintenance on the, you're gonna have like a median there? You know, between the two driveways?
Yeah, well, if we consolidate and make it one driveway, then there would just be a shared maintenance agreement
Shared
between
driveway.
proposed lot 1 and, or 2 and 3.
2 and 3 would have a shared maintenance agreement on their driveway.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
So the two owners would have to know
To
that
act.
somebody's gonna
Yes,
have to
sir.
take care of it.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
I can tell you in the past, what the
That's-
county council has done is
Yeah.
we've discontinued the paper street to a certain extent.
Yes.
Give you half and give the Newell Mulder property the other half.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Yes.
And so in order for us to do, that's a common council resolution.
Sure.
And we would need your drawing
Mhm.
with the exact specifications as to how far you wanted to discontinue the street and the width.
Okay,
Okay? So we would need, that has to go before common council.
okay.
Roughly 25 foot
20,
to right side, 25 foot to left side.
Correct.
and how far from overlook in?
Right.
And we would want to do the least amount necessary.
Understood.
So if you need how many feet to get to lot 3, that's what we need to calculate.
So he
I mean,
needs to modify
doesn't-
the drawing accordingly, put some
So I mean,
numbers
this
to
is
it.
32 feet here, right?
So
70, I don't know.
wouldn't, in our experience, when abandoning a paper street, the city must pass the resolution to abandon the paper street and then convey half interest to parties on both sides.
Correct.
So that would just be the entire frontage for this parcel, the current existing
All the way up
parcel,
to this part, all the way up to
All
here.
the,
up to the property
up
corner.
to somewhat like this part right here.
I would say we go.
You want to, it could.
Yeah, I would say it would go over there.
So how many feet from Overlook Drive to this corner? 75, 75, and 18. So that's
Yeah.
150, 160,
No, it's
plus
the
31.
Well, the 31 feet is currently part of the Overlook Drive road
Right, but
bounds.
we need to know how far
Yes.
from Overlook Drive is going in to lot 3.
So that's
Lot
your,
3.
that's your 168.1 feet, the 75 plus 75 plus the 18, or sorry, yes,
Plus the
18.1.
32, right? Don't you have to add the 32 as well?
No,
this
because
is-
that's
this is the
not-
current- This is the current boundary line right there.
That dash line?
Yes,
It's a dash line that runs right through the middle of lot 1. That's where he's saying the boundary line adjustment is taking place. They're bringing that boundary down closer to Overlook Drive.
Right, but we need from here,
Right.
we need to abandon the street from here, this corner, to that corner.
But I think what Matt is saying is it doesn't, that, this portion of it, I think
Oh,
that
is that,
line
oh,
goes
is there,
there.
okay, I don't know, I can't tell
Yes,
from the drawing.
I think, Matt, if you extend that line, that dotted line, and connect the 2 points across Arlington,
Yes.
let us know what that dimension is.
oh yeah, I can put meets and bounds all
Yeah.
around there,
Yep.
so that it's very clear what is
And
currently
then, yeah, I
Arlington.
usually have Jeremy write my description, because then you'll have to, the owner applicant will
Yes.
submit deeds. They
Yes.
actually get
We get a
recorded.
brand new deed
Yeah,
for the description.
yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
I can submit that with the description and everything,
Yeah,
right
you have to
from
get
that.
common council approval.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And if it becomes a shared driveway then, as we were talking about a minute ago, then that leaves enough width for whether they can or don't
Absolutely.
ever develop back in there, but it still in theory leaves enough for a driveway, so
Yes.
it's not landlocked property, right?
Correct.
Yes.
so that would put lot 2 and lot 3 technically as landlocked parcels.
Because they're sharing a driveway?
If Arlington Street becomes abandoned, then there is no more City Street there. And so with the current configuration, we would have lots. Now, we could easily design a driveway easement across the front of those lots. Because, for example, lot 1 would pick up that 18.1 foot length of what is currently Arlington Street, 24.75 feet wide. So we could design a driveway that goes down that 24-foot strip, if you will, with easements, but technically, that lot wouldn't have road frontage anymore.
Or would that? would
Unless you
have
left
that-
lot 1 as you have it designed right now,
And we were to run a 24-foot strip,
up the side to lots 2 and 3.
yes, but either lot 2 or 3 would still have to have an easement across the other, and technically still not have road frontage.
If you go into this effort, can the Arlington Street, if we're asking the city to negate Arlington, so there sits this negated property, can that dead leg be incorporated into possible approved lots? So now the owners own that access. Now Arlington, because Arlington Street doesn't exist anymore, we made it defunct.
Could you figure out how to make two
A flag lot.
two flagpole lots that
Flag
both
lot.
front onto
Yes.
Overlook Drive?
Yes, sir.
That would lead to very narrow flagpoles and move setbacks back considerably.
Roughly 25 foot worth of flag.
Yeah, but you see, if we come in 25 feet here,
Oh,
then
I
the
see.
setback goes from there.
That pushes it back. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be quiet now.
Oh. I'm just looking at the different functionalities, that's all. So we can come up with a plan that it allows for driveways across the proposed abandonment area with very well-written easements in place and maintenance agreements so that there aren't future problems that arise from that driveway.
Correct.
Do you see private roads, you know,
Yes.
signage, something like that?
Private drivers.
Private
Yeah.
drivers,
Yeah.
I don't think it would become, because it's becoming a shared access drive.
It would be similar to a driveway between two houses on any other city street that just happens to run
Where
along the
you've
back.
got two houses right next to each other, and a driveway comes in between them. And
Yes.
there's no, and then it's paved from house to house.
Yes.
And in my line of work, when there aren't shared agreements,
Right.
I see a lot of problems there, which is why we would try to really lock this down to make
Yeah.
sure that there are no problems in the future.
Right. I think that would be my recommendation. How does anybody else? I'll open this up, this is just sketch plan review, so I'll just open it up, and anybody have any additional input for the?
There wouldn't be any benefit for like some form of HOA for that, so that they would maintain their own capabilities here, maintenance wise and so on.
That could get a little complex and potentially drive the cost of these houses so that nobody would want to buy them, to be blunt. The maintenance agreement would certainly, that would still be deeded with these houses. Any easement and maintenance agreement could be written right into the deed, so that any time that land is conveyed, that is carried with the land. But,
Ms. Andrews?
No, they're gonna move the driveway back, or that line back to the property line, is that what you're talking about now?
yes,
Yeah.
we'll show the proposed conveyance from the city to the lot
Right,
if the abandonment of Arlington Street is successful,
right, gotcha.
Yes.
No, good move, yeah.
unless the city wants to build a road. Just leaving that on the table.
Anything?
There's got to be a happy medium somewhere. It's not serving anyone right now.
Right.
And we'll leave it up to the surveyors and the lawyers to really nail it down.
I know.
You know, that's what they do when they go there.
Tom, anything
I'm
else?
all set. Like I say, I think everything's been discussed, and there's gotta be a remedy in there somewhere.
It's not hard.
In general, I think the principle of what you're trying to do, to create 3 lots, I think we're all kind of in agreement that, yeah, I think we can figure out a way to make this work. Let's just figure out what the best way to get access to lots 2 and 3 are going to be, and I think
And
that.
the simplest down the road, because like you said, HOAs and that adds to confusion on.
For 2 lots is rather complicated.
Becomes ugly. Yeah.
You guys can figure it out.
In the city.
We're all for it.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good. Thanks for hanging with us, guys. Does anybody else have anything for the greater good of the? No?
I saved the locks out, is that finished,
Which one?
the locks?
I'll be back.
Okay, that's
That was
right.
sketch plan.
That was just sketch plan review.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, we're working on stormwater management and further design
Okay.
modifications, so we'll be back. I'm not sure if we're gonna make May or maybe June.
Okay, there's no rush on that.
There's no- So I would make a motion that we adjourn the meeting. I get a second? Anybody opposed? So we're good, we're out?